What's up, everybody? Let me turn the music down. All right, welcome to Sunday. It is January 8th, 2023, about 8:49 p.m. Eastern. I want to wish everybody an official warm welcome to Q4 earnings season. Yeah, that's right. Welcome to the earnings season. We're back in the swing of things. So next week is going to be a busy week. And we really kick off Q4 earnings with Taiwan Semiconductor reporting on Thursday. But more important than that, as we know, every single earnings season kicks off with the major Wall Street mega banks. So we're pretty much going to be hearing from all of them. On Friday, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Citi, Wells Fargo, and then we'll spill over into the next week there. We're also going to hear from Delta. It's going to be interesting to hear how Delta reports, especially with all the craziness that has been going on with the airlines, especially the whole Southwest debacle, the big meltdown there. I think people are still trying to figure out where their bags are, trying to get reimbursed. So it should be interesting to hear an update on the overall airline community. But most importantly, obviously, we could use earnings season for the major banks as a proxy for maybe how consumers are doing, right? Especially if we think about JP Morgan Chase, we think about Bank of America, Citi, they tend to be big credit card issuers. So we're going to be getting some spending data. We'll keep an eye on delinquencies or short-term delinquencies, like 30-day delinquencies on credit cards. Are they increasing, decreasing? What about long-term delinquencies, right? 90 days plus, are people falling behind on their payments? I guess we'll find that out Friday. Now, we are also getting inflation data out. This is going to be a big week. Thursday is CPI. And if you noticed, this is probably going to be, I would say, the last main event before February 1st, which is the next FOMC meeting. And consensus on Wall Street is probably going to get about a 50 basis point rate hike. But if inflation comes in better than expected, if we continue to decelerate here in the main key categories, there is a shot that we may go all the way back down to a 25 basis point rate hike, maybe. I don't know. We'll talk about it. Quick check on futures. Well, actually, first, I think China just opened, right? Yeah. Hang Seng Index opening up about 330 points. It's about 1.5%. China's doing really well. Hopefully that'll lead the U.S. markets to green. If we take a look at the S&P 500 E-mini futures contract, ticker symbol ES, we're about flat, up 7 points. It's pretty much nothing. If we take a look at NQ, which is the NASDAQ 100 E-mini futures contract, we are also about flat, up 25 points. And then the Dow 30 YM, we're also flat, 50 points. All right, cool. All right, let me get my backpack and we will head out. I hope all of you had a fantastic weekend. Hope you are all ready for the week ahead. I see my good friend Wendy England in the chat. Sparks Carnival, what's up? I see Dallas F. Yeah, so Sparks Carnival says the VIX ended around 21 on Friday. I was looking at that too, and we'll talk about it. Hold on, let's talk about that when we get downstairs. Give me a sec. Let me just close up shop here. Hey, TC, Sherry Rodrigo, good to see you. Welcome, everybody. Hey, Theo's here, says, hey, Tom. Thank you so much. I did get your email. I appreciate the very kind email. I'm going to respond once I get on the train. I'll give you guys a quick look at the WeWork here. Sabrina Fair, good to see you. Day's work. Welcome. We are once again on Madison Avenue, East 31st Street. But I will see you guys once we get to the ground floor because we do buffer quite a bit here. So we'll wait. I see Sunshine After Rain. Good to see you. Al Baker, Gary Carpenter, the one and only FredX. Welcome. It's going to be a busy week. Hopefully you guys are ready. Inflation data, Q4 earnings, big stuff. Zip my jacket. right, what do we got? It's not too bad. It actually feels pretty nice out. I thought it was going to be really, really windy. All right, welcome everybody to Walks on Wall Street. Thank you for joining us once again. Very clear night in Manhattan. We are reporting live on East 31st Street and Madison. Quiet night, Sunday night. Everybody's probably getting ready for the week ahead. You know, I want to talk about something interesting. And before I forget the Nightbot command, if you type !MTA in the chat, check it out. !MTA. The Wall Street Journal came out with a really solid article, really interesting article this weekend. Not exclusively talking about the MTA, but talking about public transportation systems across the United States. And they really covered the piece in relation to ridership. And this is something we talk about all the time. Now, I've noticed, and I've told you guys this, I've noticed that Mondays in the city, totally dead. It's a ghost town on a relative basis, right? I mean, I've been working in Manhattan my entire adult life. And I could tell you with certainty that it is absolutely a ghost town on Mondays and Fridays. Now, that's probably due to the hybrid work environment, the hybrid work schedule. People don't want to come in on Mondays. People don't want to come in on Fridays to sort of extend their weekend, right? Nobody will admit that, but I think it's pretty obvious. So check out that article. And, you know, I've really never thought about this, but I think everybody should be thinking about it because ridership is down. Now, I wrote down a statistic that stood out to me. Let me see. It was really crazy. So the MTA, they gathered all of the ridership for November, okay? November of 2022. And we had 50 million less riders this month, in 2022 in the month of November than we did before COVID. So November 2019. Beautiful shot of the Empire State Building here. Now, that is not sustainable for a system that already has a very hard time operating when we're at full capacity, okay, as it relates to finances and the like. So the article talks about how this is a big problem, not only in New York, right? I don't want to make it seem like I'm dumping on New York. This is all over, San Francisco, other different municipalities. So the MTA, and I think we had a chatter actually let us know this a while ago, but the MTA is thinking about having limited service on Mondays and Fridays to save money to compensate for the lack of ridership. Have you guys heard about this? And also, yeah, the Garlics is the MTA. Should go public for some funds. Yeah, hilarious. No, but I mean, I think it's a big issue. And here's why I think it's the biggest issue. Because for the people who do live in New York City still and pay taxes and things like that, these fares are going to go up. I mean, they've been going up and people have been fighting these fare increases even when we were at 100% capacity. But now that we have this big problem, the taxes are going to go up. It just has to, or the system's going to go bankrupt. And they're probably going to increase fares. So this city is about to get a lot more expensive, but just not exclusive to New York, all over. Have you guys noticed, let me give you one more shot of the Empire from here. Have you guys noticed on your morning commutes that there's a lot less people on the subways and the Long Island Railroad? I've noticed it, especially for the LIRR. Hey, Will M is here, Mets fan 1023. Says no incentive to ride the subway, delays, and it's very unreliable, also homeless. Yeah, I mean, that's another problem too. You know, aside from that, on a relative basis, a lot of people don't feel safe taking the subway. RS is here, welcome. Soho guy says New York City has a multi-billion-dollar deficit. Yeah, I mean, you guys got to check out that article. Now, you know me, I'm not trying to be doom and gloom and fear, but I think it's important that we're aware of it, because I think we could either expect increased taxes, increased fares, and I would say a decreased quality of overall service. I think that's what's coming, unfortunately. John T. Connor says, hey, Tom, another winner this year might be SPWR. Interesting. I've never heard of that ticker. I'll check it out, but thank you so much for watching. What do they do? What is the company? RS is Take the Ferry. Now, do we think we'll ever get to a point in New York where the Staten Island ferry, you have to pay for it? Now, I know the comments, I get it. You know, it's free, but our tax dollars pay for it. But do you ever think, even just to try to compensate for lost ridership, do you ever think that they'll start to charge for it? Who knows? All right, we are now Koreatown. This is Love Korean Barbecue across the street. Lizzie, this is Hey Tom, how are you? Thank you so much. I'm doing well. How about yourself? Brick Stonewall says ridership on the MTA in Los Angeles among females has declined because of crime and assault. Both issues in commuter subway trains, says Brick Stonewall. So there's probably multiple factors, but I think the biggest factor, in my view, is the hybrid work environment. I mean, I see it when I go into the office. Mondays, it's a ghost town. But Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are okay. But if you read the article, and just once again, for those of you who are just joining, hey, happy holidays. If you type !MTA in the chat, the Nightbot will drop the link to that Wall Street Journal article and take a look at it. Have a read. I think it's very important if you live in one of these cities that you're very aware of it. And they also talked about, because they did a bunch of, they ran the statistics, they analyzed the data, and a lot more people are using the subways on the weekends. And we haven't changed the schedules as it relates to the subway. We haven't changed the schedules as it relates to the Long Island Railroad. So we have it set up in a way where there's more trains, as of right now, when there's less people in the city, and less trains when there's actually more people coming into the city. So I think we need to do a total revamp there. Total rip and replace. Sparks Carnival, good to see you. Sparks Carnival says plus lithium shortages.
What? Not even.
Indeed. Sean says good evening, Tom, chat, and team. What's up? Good to see you, Sean. Happy Sunday to you. TC, welcome. Little Larry Sellers has had a great walk around Chicago today. Was thinking of your program. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much. Little Larry Sellers, how is the public transit in Chicago? Do you think ridership is down there? Deborah says took the F train on Thanksgiving Day and had to wait 20 minutes for a train. Well, I think that's standard, right? Was it around the time the Thanksgiving Day parade was getting out? Because it's usually a mob scene there. I'll give you guys a quick shot of Koreatown. This is West 32nd Street. Daryl is here. This is low ridership on Pace Bus, Tom, as well. I'm assuming that's Chicago, right, Daryl? Sean says happy to see you as well. And have a great day and a weekend. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I think just the biggest concern for me is that if you'll notice when you're reading through the article, they propose every single solution besides, reducing workforce in the MTA, cutting down on overtime, because I'm not going to make it seem like it's a massive issue of, MTA employees, doing fraudulent overtime and things like that. I can't claim that, but I mean, yeah. But the thing is, they propose every single type of solution, saying we're going to reduce train times, we're going to reduce the volume of trains, we're going to increase the fares for the riders, or maybe even going to implement more taxes. But they don't say, okay, well, if there's less riders, well, that may mean we need less MTA employees. Now, I'm not trying to argue maybe that's the solution or the only solution, but I think it's one that needs to be looked at and fair. But these unions are very, very strong, and you never want to see anybody lose their job. But we've had a major shift in the way people work, and it's already 3 years after the pandemic. I think a lot of people sort of forget that. I forget that sometimes. Guys, it's been 3 years now since COVID, And if this hybrid work environment trend isn't changing, I don't think it's ever going to change. I don't know. What do you think? Start says, hello, good, welcome from Brazil. Good to see you. The Garlic says, the Wall Street Journal just notified me about the article. Oh, really? Maybe it just came out. I was reading it like 30 minutes ago. Sparks Carnival says Disney or Netflix and Disney Plus are adding ad tiers. Trade Desk will benefit from this. Yeah, I mean, I heard about that. And I think that market is extremely crowded. I think the streaming service market is very, very crowded. We talked about having a first mover advantage. It always reminds me of Jeff Bezos with Amazon Web Services. He had a head start on Microsoft. He also had a head start on Google with their Google Cloud. Nina says, agree, hybrid work platform is the new environment. Yeah, I think I'd have to agree. Ryan Beck says, I think there will be some consolidation this year in the streaming space. There should be. You know, has anybody heard of the streaming platform Peacock? So I actually signed up for it, and I'll tell you the reason why. We're gonna head uptown today, but last night was fun. We were headed to the Village, but since it's Sunday night, I gotta stay close to Penn Station just so I can boogie on out of here. So we're gonna be heading uptown towards the Salesforce Tower. So I actually subscribed to one of these streaming platforms, Peacock. I think it was $7. And the only reason why I subscribed to it is to watch the World Cup. And then I was like, you know what, I'll give it a chance. Now that the World Cup's over, let's see if there's anything else that I'd be interested in watching. And there's really nothing that I'm interested in. There wasn't really there was no financial news channels. You couldn't even watch, CNBC. So I canceled it. So I'm wondering how many people signed up for Peacock solely to watch the World Cup and then churned, a month later. Yeah, RS, you're right. Salesforce just had recent layoffs. I think they're going to lay off about 10% of the entire company. You're correct. We're actually going to make a right here and head uptown. Hey, photos from around New York. What's up? Says, what about 30 Rock? Is that a show? Hey, Color in Chat says, my son manages a Starbucks. They are cutting hours and they have layoffs as well. Wow. What state is that in? Now, McDonald's announced corporate layoffs too. I'm not sure in what percentage, but they definitely announced corporate layoffs as well. Thank you for that info. James Peacock also has Premier League games for the US. I didn't see that. Interesting. Very interesting. Aldo Gomez is today. Good to see you, Aldo Gomez. Ruby Falcone. Anyway, I think everybody should check that article out, especially if you live in New York, San Francisco, any of the major cities. NPC says Peacock is for WWE. Speaking of WWE, the stock is actually acting really well. It's one of the leading stocks in the market right now. We had a conversation about the WWE last night on the live stream. Will M, what's up? Michelle K, this is good evening, Tom and chat. Wendy England says Starbucks closed 300 stores across Canada. Well, I was on the earnings call for, I believe, their Q3 earnings. And the store closures are very strategic in the way that, especially, I could speak to the United States, especially in the way that provides safety to the workers. So unfortunately, in some of the very popular Starbucks locations in major cities, okay, think about New York, think about San Francisco, those type of cities, were closed because of employee feedback for very, very dangerous working conditions. There were homeless people that would, do drugs and other nefarious activities in the restrooms. And the Starbucks employees, once Howard Schultz came back, it seems like that's the only guy who could run that company well, was actually doing the right thing as a CEO should do and started talking to his employees and figuring out what was going wrong. And the Starbucks employees are like, look, we're not paid to take care of homeless people. to, clean up after dirty needles. So Starbucks has strategically started to close stores in those big hotspots. So I'm not sure if that's a big problem in Canada. It is a problem here in the US. I'm just not too well read up on Canada. Hey, Brad's Brain, what's up? Says, hey, all, packing day. The big move to Houston is coming is coming in the weekend. This is exhausting. Question, Brad, are you paying for a mover? Or are you doing it yourself? You're just gonna lug everything there yourself. But good luck on your move. Chan is here. Welcome. Ryan Beck says, reminds me of Iger going back to the Disney. You're right. Yeah, because he's the only one who can run it. Yeah, Bob Iger is back at Disney. Now, here's the interesting thing, though. Howard Schultz. All right, one more look at the Empire, and then we're going to head uptown. I want to show you guys an interesting building on Park Avenue. I think you're going to enjoy it. It's going to tie well within our live stream here, as we're talking about remote work, new office buildings and such. But so Howard Schultz is technically still in charge of Starbucks, the CEO, but he's doing a 1-year mentoring program with the new CEO, I forget his name, to actually sit with him and teach him how to run the company appropriately. So a lot of shareholders have been upset throughout the years. Every time Howard Schultz leaves, it seems as if he's always forced to come back to run the company appropriately the way it should. Now, a lot of people weren't happy with Kevin Johnson. Does anybody remember the former CEO of Starbucks, Kevin Johnson? He was actually a very good CEO, I think, in my opinion, for a couple of reasons. Well, Kevin Johnson, he doesn't really come from a hospitality background. He actually is a tech executive. I think he spent many years at Microsoft. I think that's where he made the bulk of his money. But he really helped streamline and revolutionize their mobile order and pay for Starbucks. So if you have the application, you could order online, you could pick it up in store, and that drove a ton of business. So I think that was good that Kevin Johnson sort of streamlined that. But if you look back throughout history of Starbucks stock, which is now actually trading near a 52-week high, by the way, I think it's only a couple points off of all-time record high. That's another company that Bill Ackman. I think Ackman owns a sizable position there, I think. But yeah, it seems like does anybody know the name of the new Starbucks CEO? I believe he was a former KPMG partner, I think. Does anybody know his name? But he's getting like a mentorship program from Howard Schultz. Sparks Carnival says Apple's growth rate has slowed considerably. The iPhone 14 is not selling. I can easily see their stock falling below 100. Mike C, what's up? Now, speaking of Apple, did anybody see the news we got out from Foxconn? So for those of you who don't know, Foxconn is the largest manufacturer of Apple products for Apple in China. And we all know, look at this chandelier here. We all know that the zero COVID policy in China was horrible, it was egregious, and it actually was so bad that many people started to riot and revolt in China, which has sort of forced the hand of the CCP to start opening back up. So I don't really want to talk about that debate, whether it's right or wrong or not, but we heard from Foxconn, revenues are up, and at their main manufacturing facility in China, they are just about getting back to normal pre-COVID levels of production. Just now. It's been 3 years, but maybe that will help reduce costs and improve supply chain, because a lot of this inflation, and we're going to talk about inflation a lot tonight, because next week is CPI week. We're getting the CPI, Consumer Price Index, and much of the inflation that we've had has been caused by supply chain issues. So Michael Joseph, Lexman, okay. Understood. Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. Hawaii is here. Thank you so much. Theo, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's interesting. Has any other publicly traded company done something like this, like a mentoring program for the new CEO? And if you remember, Howard Schultz was on, I don't know if it was Squawk on the Street. Anyway, it was the morning show, morning interview with Andrew Ross Sorkin, who I actually tend to like a lot. And Andrew Ross Sorkin was really pressing Howard Schultz. He's like, look, how do we know this is the last time? How do we know that you're not just going to be back in a year or two? And Howard Schultz was like, look, this is it. He's like, once this guy's in, I'm done. So, look, he's going to be following him around for about a year. We'll see if he gets some good results. Who knows? Patrick New York is here. What's up? Good to see you. T. Walsh's futures are up a bit, as well as Bitcoin is up. Yeah, we checked futures before we left the office. I think the E-minis S&P was up like 25 points. Futures are about flat. Now, I think it's going to be really important to watch China. Speaking of the Bank of China right here, the Hang Seng Index just opened probably 30 minutes ago, China trading. And I think we're up about 300 points on the Hang Seng. But as we know, ever since October 31st was when we put a bottom in the Chinese equity market, the entire indice is up like 40%. So I think we need a little bit of digestion here. I wouldn't be surprised if we pull back. But I think the biggest driver, as we have an amazing view of One Vanderbilt building, really nice moon. I'm not sure if that is a full moon or not, but this is One Vanderbilt as we look over Bryant Park, the Winter Village. In my opinion, the biggest driver of this stock market going into next week is going to be determined on the bond market. Take a look at the 10-year U.S. Treasury yield. Talk about getting clocked. We had massive buying in the Treasury market on Friday, which helped give the stock market a very, very big boost. The yield on the 10-year, I think, is about 3.5. That's a big move down from over 4%. So if you have TradingView or any other type of charting software, one of the things I would suggest is throw a 50-day moving average on the 10-year U.S. Treasury yield, not the bond. Many people get the chart confused with the actual bond, but the yield is more important to look at. Hey, the Celtex says Verizon announced the cash dividend of 65 cents with an ex-dividend date of January 9th, payable February 1st. The Celtec, question for you. I think T-Mobile, now that we're talking about telecom, I think T-Mobile put out their earnings, or they pre-announced their earnings, and I think the earnings were pretty good. Is that right? Ryan Beck says Japan's still buying bonds too, so that is helping bring yields down here as well as the Dixie. That is true. Yeah, the Bank of Japan is, it's crazy. They've sort of taken the total polar opposite approach to monetary policy as it relates, or if we want to compare it, to other central banks around the world. Obviously, the Federal Reserve, which is our central bank here in the United States, we set the policy or set the tone for the rest of the world. So generally speaking, but not all the time, whatever the Federal Reserve does, if we go into quantitative tightening or quantitative easing, you could pretty much best believe that other central banks like the Bank of England and others, the European Central Bank, the ECB, are going to follow suit. But Bank of Japan, the BOJ, has actually been easing and accelerating their bond purchases and leaving interest rates negative, which they sort of have to do, or you'll have pretty much an implosion in the debt market there. It's almost like constant stimulus in Japan. Daryl says it's not T-Mobile, but terrible mobile wireless, Tom. T-Mobile's all right. T-Mobile's all right. And, I've said this, and it's actually gone against the grain of many people, many analysts on Wall Street. I think T-Mobile is best positioned by far to build out a robust 5G network because if you really look at the merger with Sprint, Sprint has a ton of mid-band spectrum. The problem with Sprint is that they were about to go bankrupt and they didn't have enough money to really build out that network. But now that they're merged with T-Mobile, T-Mobile's probably going to build their 5G network on that mid-band spectrum. Other carriers like Verizon and AT&T are probably going to have to do some serious spending on their spectrum auctions. A lot of people don't know this, but in the telecom industry, you actually have to purchase spectrum from the government in spectrum auctions. And this is very expensive. You're talking billions and billions of dollars. So I think T-Mobile's positioned rather well. The only downside I would say about T-Mobile is if you're talking about enterprise sales, so selling into Fortune 500, Fortune 50, the platforms are just not built to sustain enterprise customers. Hey, CA designer, says I'm a graphic designer. Good to see you. We still have a lot of people ice skating here, the Bryant Park ice skating rink. Yeah, Sparks Carnival says I think T-Mobile has a slight branding issue. Consumer surveys still view Verizon as high-end quality and T-Mobile as a discount provider. You are very correct. But I think that actually works to their advantage, and I'll tell you why. Because you would think that the more lucrative business is in the enterprise space and the B2B space. It's actually not. And it's because retail customers, you can command higher ARPU, a much, much higher ARPU. And ARPU stands for average revenue per user. So if you think about if you want to open a business account, or let's say if you're trying to sell into Goldman Sachs, any of the big consulting firms, really any massive company, right? They're not going to pay, if you're talking about
Attention skaters. Phones, headphones, cameras, and other electronic devices are not permitted on the ice. To use your device,
Yanks 2000 says I'm with Verizon. I remember when we bought the Spectrum analog used to run on. Well, here we have Salesforce Tower, the one with the big bright light on it. But the one to the right, we are actually going to be hearing from Bank of America this week as the major investment banks kick off Q4 earnings. We are going to hear from Bank of America and Brian Moynihan. Tom G says Chet Baker, more jazz. I wish we could play some Chet Baker here. Michael Joseph says Jeffries tomorrow and a bunch of other cannabis companies. Now, you know what I think about Jeffries, right? I think they're going to announce something big, either a takeover, somebody's bidding to buy them, or something. I mean, take a look at ticker symbol JEF and notice the 1,000% volume turnover on Thursday. Something's happening. Somebody on Wall Street knows something. So, hey, Robert is here. What's up? I'll give you guys one last close shot of the ice, and then we want to push further uptown. I want to take you guys to Park Avenue. I want to show you an interesting building. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. 3T3, good to see you. So someone always knows something. You're right about that. Dan Zhang says, Tom, have you seen the news that Goldman Sachs is going to cut 3,200 jobs? I did. I think the original announcement was about 8% of the workforce. But if I had to guess, if I had to bet, I think the majority of those layoffs are probably going to come from the newer retail division that Goldman Sachs is trying to build out. And that is from the Marcus by Goldman Sachs division, which was a massive, I guess you could consider it a failure at this point. Gabe Paul says, are you a fan of Lionel Messi? I think you mean Messi. I am. I am a very big fan of Lionel Messi. Man, this is a really nice view of One Vanderbilt. You could see the moon at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, too. Really nice. But you notice they've taken down almost all of the Winter Village stuff. It's almost all gone. Hunter Butler is here, says, hey Tom, good to see you. It's good to see you as well. We're headed towards the William Bryant statue or monument, whatever you want to call it, right here. The main William Bryant monument. I think once we turn around, we're gonna have a really nice view of it. Christmas tree. Hey, Lawrence says, hey Tom, what do you think about the student debt forgiveness? You know, it's funny you mentioned that because we've actually done entire streams talking about why college is so expensive in the first place. Man, look at that. That's an awesome view. So for those of you who don't know what we're looking at, this building right here is the Bank of China. This building is Mark Benioff's building, Salesforce, ticker symbol CRM. And then right here is Bank of America, Brian Moynihan's building. We're gonna hear from them on Friday. Now I'm really interested in hearing how Bank of America is gonna report as it relates to their credit card business. You can sort of use that as a gauge or a proxy to how the American consumer is holding up. So I'm gonna be really doing a deep dive and looking at this, and we'll talk about it on the streams, but to see if credit card delinquency or default rates are creeping up, we'll see. But back to the sort of the topic, Lauren was asking about what do I think about the student loan forgiveness. Well, the main reason why college in the United States is so expensive in the first place is because the government will subsidize all of these student loans. This is the Bryant Park Grill, by the way, beautiful place. And if you think about it, you rip all of the free market capitalistic nature and free markets and price discovery away from the college business if you have the government guaranteeing all these loans. And here's why. Well, if you're a private college and you have students from all over the United States that are able to get a loan that is subsidized from the government, approved, you don't have to show any income verification, no credit check, no nothing. Doesn't matter the amount. You know that all of these students will get approved to get the loan. There is no incentive for you to be price competitive. If anything, it's the inverse. There's more incentive for colleges to raise prices because if you know your clientele, which is the students, will be able to pay for college, and I'm using pay for college in air quotes because they're using the student loans to pay for it, much of which is government subsidized, you know they can get the money, right? So that's the first problem. So what I may say might surprise many of you as we head towards 5th Avenue, then we're gonna make a left. I actually am in support of student loan forgiveness, but there's one condition, okay? If I was president, I would say, look, this madness, this craziness has gone on way too long, okay? Because I have friends that have hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loan debt. I don't, because I chose to go to a city college and not pay. I paid almost nothing to go. I would say, look, we're gonna wipe everybody's slate clean, but I am forbidding the government to subsidize not one more student loan. The government is getting out of the student loan business. And you know what's gonna happen? It's gonna be very, very tough in this country for 5 to 10 years. Very tough. People aren't gonna be able to afford to go to college. It's gonna be very difficult. So what's gonna happen? Nobody's gonna be able to afford to go. So these colleges are gonna need to cut costs. You're gonna see administrators at all of these private institutions just be slashed. The reason why I think you see a lot of these colleges, it's almost just like they're adult playgrounds, okay? 3 swimming pools, gyms, like 18 cafeterias. It's nuts. And it's all government funded through those student loan programs. So I don't know, that's my take on it. It'll never happen, by the way. That will never happen, but that's what should happen. But I do not support canceling student loans if you're just gonna continue to issue more loans, because it's just gonna perpetuate the issue. So, anyway. All right, here we have the beautiful Stephen Schwarzman building, the New York Public Library. Man, really, really nice. So that's the long, I guess, in the long and the short of it. I would support canceling everybody's student loans, but we cannot continue this madness of having the government subsidize these student loans because the problem is just going to continue, right? We gotta, cut the head off of the snake, if that's the appropriate expression. We're gonna check out the 2 lions here. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah, Michael Joseph says billions of endowments, cancel that. Mighty Mole says, heck no, I refuse to pay for your stupid basket weaving college degree. No, and I get that, right? And I have the same exact view on that as you, actually. I tend to agree with you. I was responsible, and I said, look, I can't afford to go to a private school. My family didn't come from money, so I'm like, I'm gonna go to a CUNY school where it's cheap. I didn't want to take out loans. But if we want to move the country forward, right, I would cancel all these student loans, but then no more government subsidized loans. But that'll never happen. So it's almost as if it's not worth talking about because the government will never get out of the student loan program because that's how they could buy votes. So it's almost not worth talking about, actually. Beautiful view of the lions here. It's a gorgeous night in Manhattan. I mean, I thought it was going to be really cold tonight. It's actually a really, really gorgeous night. All right, my friends, onward. And look, it's a very complicated situation. And the situation is very close to home, I guess, because, I have friends who have ridiculous amounts of debt. And here's the other thing I would say. I would say many of these loans were actually probably issued unethically. I remember going to the guidance counselor when I was junior, senior year of high school. They would make you go to the guidance counselor. I hated talking to the guy. I thought he was creepy. But anyway, that's another story. But I'm like, oh no, I can't afford I'm like $50,000 a year. He's like, oh no, you just take out a loan. And I'm arguing with the guy, and it's just like, it becomes so normal. Like these guidance counselors, I can only speak for mine, but they're just like, oh no, it's no big deal. You just get student loans. I'm like, yeah, but I would need to pay that back. They're like, oh yeah, but everybody pays them. I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to be everybody. That's ridiculous. I don't want to have hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt coming out of school. But that is the type of brainwashing that many guidance counselors push on these kids. They tried to push it on me. And look, not all guidance counselors are bad. There's fantastic people, okay? Absolutely fantastic. Most guidance counselors are great people, fantastic people. But there are some, and consensus is, I'm not too far out of college. I'm only a couple years out of college. A lot of my friends regret, they're like, damn, man, I shouldn't have gone to, XYZ private school. I shouldn't have gone to PACE. We got the same, I have this, want to hear something crazy, and then we'll move off the topic of education. I'll tell you a really crazy story. So one of my best friends went to Pace University, which is in Lower Manhattan. It's a beautiful school, amazing school, very good school. He has the same degree as I have, criminal justice degree. Mine was $5,000, his was $130,000. Do you really think he got a better criminal justice education than me? I don't know. Maybe you could argue that. Maybe you can. I don't know. But, I'll leave it at that. Liz is here. Good to see you, Liz. Lilith says, Tom, I was brainwashed by a for-profit school, promised me a high-paying job once I was done with their program. That's another big issue. That's another really big issue. A lot of these colleges have been super predatory against students, forcing them into these high interest rate loans. You're right. You're correct. Okay, team, we are now crossing West 44th Street. I'm going to take you guys to Park Avenue, and I'll tell you why. So we were having this conversation about the MTA and remote work, how ridership is down. So many new developments, office buildings are popping up around the city to try to incentivize workers to come back. And there's one building that I want to take all of you by, which is a fantastic building. It is called 425 Park Avenue. And it's actually right across the street from 430 Park Avenue, which we stream from all the time. Sir? I'm busy, sorry. Which we stream from all the time. And, let me get away from this guy. Okay, I think we are done buffering, right? We're good? Anyway, so 224, I think the address is. No, 425 Park Avenue. New office tower, it's amazing. You guys got to look it up. And Citadel Securities actually just leased brand new office space there. So they're going to have office space in Miami, Florida. And I think they're going to be on the 25th and 26th floors of 425 Park Avenue, which is a crazy, crazy building. So if you go to Bloomberg's YouTube page and just type in 425 Park Avenue, they'll tell you all about the building. And a trend that I see in New York City real estate is that all of the older style office buildings that you see all around us here, I think they're going to really, really suffer from very, very high vacancy rates. And whatever companies are left, they are going to flock to the A+, A grade new office buildings that are going up. For example, 425 Park Avenue, which I'm going to show you tonight. Pretty much any new development in the Hudson Yards. We've been seeing that with KPMG. KPMG has their new headquarters in the Hudson Yards, and a lot of these other buildings are just going to sit empty. Because if you really want to pry your employees back to the office for at least 3 days a week, they're not going to go back, do a 2-hour commute to sit in some dusty cubicle. You're going to need to really, really convince these people to come back. So I would go back to the Hudson Yards. I'd go back to 425 Park Avenue. But I don't know if I'd go back to, a very cramped building like this where the ceiling height is maybe 10 feet, which may be able to open way for a play to gut renovate a lot of these buildings and build affordable housing. Who knows? I think the cost is going to be very high, especially with the buildings that have asbestos, but we'll see. I know, color and chat with Joanna. Says 425 is high dollar. It's very impressive. It's an amazing, amazing building. Sparks Carnival says, Tom, my office just offered free lunch to get us back to the office. How many days a week is the free lunch?
Aqui deve fechar às 9, aqui fecha às 8. 8?
All right, here we are on West 48th Street. Oh, I'm seeing a lot of people in the chat that says you should have helped the guy. Dude, okay, guys. I think you just got to trust me on this. Okay, I know the city inside and out probably better than anybody. The guy is trying to snatch and grab my phone. Okay, so I say, listen, pal, I'm busy. You keep walking. All right, I know people. Just trust me on this, okay? Maybe for the people who are watching from Ohio or something that maybe not too keen on New York lingo. So just, yeah, for all of our Midwesterners watching, just trust me on this, all right? Okay, here we are outside of beautiful Saks Fifth Avenue. Hopefully we'll be able to see the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree again tonight.
I don't have that much stuff.
Wow, they still have it up. Looks pretty good. So this is 30 Rock. Hey, War Walker is here. What's up, War Walker? Good to see you. Nicole Smith, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully you're having a fantastic Sunday so far. Man, it's almost kind of weird walking around here with no tourists. Does anybody remember the streams from the holidays? Like, we couldn't even walk through here. It's kind of crazy how the city empties out after New Year's. And you have all of the windows, the Saks Fifth Avenue windows taken down too. Increase Mathers. Funny. We might as well take a quick lap around 30 Rock. Might as well. Sabrina Fair, good to see you. Photos from around New York. Dusty Cold Deborah, welcome. Okay, so we'll quickly do a rundown, but if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video. Hit the subscribe button if you're new. We do these lives starting at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We would love for you guys to join us. So if you're new here, feel free to hit the subscribe and like. But this week on Wall Street is going to be a very, very busy week as it relates to inflation. So we are going to hear from the Consumer Price Index. The Consumer Price Index report is going to be coming out on Thursday. Now, consensus on the street is for about a 0.1% month-over-month increase and a 0.1% year-over-year increase in the CPI. If we come in probably a little bit lower than that, I think there is a very, very slim chance that on February 1st, which is the next time we'll be hearing from Fed Chair Jerome Powell, we may just be able to squeak by with only a 25 basis point rate hike. But if I had to put money on it, everybody, I think we're probably going to get a solid 50 basis point rate hike. What do you guys think? Do we think the CPI this week on Thursday is going to come in at analyst expectations or economist expectations? Or do you think we're going to come a little bit hotter on inflation? Time lapses, you think we're going to get a 50 basis point increase and then a 25 or reverse 25. Interesting. Sparks Connolly, the CPI may come in lower, hopefully. I mean, I think that's what we're all rooting for, right? It seems like everybody in the chat thinks we're going to get a 50 basis point rate hike February 1st no matter what. That's what I think. But there are some whispers and some rumors on the street that we may have the chance of going 25 basis points. We'll see. Who knows? Wow, Sabrina Ferris is 75 basis point rate hike. All right. Well, we may have a little bit of a sneak peek into the CPI if we paid attention to the jobs number that we got, non-farm payrolls. And did you guys notice payrolls came in really, really positive, well above expectations? However, if you look at wage growth, which is one of the main things that the Federal Reserve is looking at, wage growth actually cooled a little bit, which is good news. Let's see if we have anybody ice skating. Oh, there's actually some people ice skating tonight. Zaid Batatas is 50 basis points because the dollar slipped a little bit. Hey, Steph UH, what's up? No, I don't think it's live music. I think it's just a recording. But this is where you go. This is actually the basement of 30 Rock. There's actually some good restaurants and shops down there too. Looks pretty good. Somebody says, Tom, do you ice skate or ski? I don't do any type of winter sports. Deborah S says, Tom, who will supply oil and gas? Speaking of oil and gas, where is crude oil futures trading? I think we closed the week at $77. That's another thing if you want to talk about deflation. Look at crude oil. I know, Ryan Beck says, I don't think I can get around the idea of sticking my foot in an ice skate that's been worn by 1,000 other people. That's true. I never thought about that until now. I think you're allowed to bring your own skates, right? The cell text is, Tom, can you rent skates? I think you can. I think it's $25. Hey, sunshine after rain, good to see you. Saeed says crude oil prices are falling. That is good news. It is good news. I'm actually really happy about that. I'm actually very happy about that. Because you know what I've been noticing? And maybe you guys notice the same, but I think we've reached a really weird point in our country. I'm speaking to the United States, that depending on who's in office, it seems as if one party or the other it's almost like they're rooting for the other one to mess up or do bad and have bad things to happen. But I think people need to realize that regardless of who the president is, Democrat or Republican, we need to live in the United States of America and, pay our bills, pay at the gas pump to drive around. So we should be happy that fuel prices are coming down and that inflation is coming down. I think that's really, really good news. Now, here's two categories. Now that we're talking about CPI, there's two main things to look at. So the Federal Reserve puts a little bit more credence and a little bit more weighting on something called core inflation or core CPI, which excludes volatile food and energy, okay? Which I actually think, I kind of disagree with the Fed here, because if I think about my personal life, I spend the most amount of money on food and shelter, not so much energy, but for some people it is energy, so I think we should, include that. But the main two categories where inflation is not really cooling at the rate at which we all hope is, number one, shelter costs. So if you look at the breakdown of the CPI report, shelter costs makes up about 33% of CPI. Shelter is coming down slowly but surely, but it's still extremely, extremely elevated. And that is probably the number one expense of any American. And number two, food inflation is still climbing, which is a big issue, especially if you have a family and kids and a husband to support or a wife to support. Food is your number one cost, and that is very, very expensive. Hey, the eyeglass lady, good to see you. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Nina says, me too. Food and shelter is high in my payroll. Yeah. The dark horse is 2 years ago, we were energy independent and the largest exporter of energy, which were High Pakora, Sind. You are happy, Tom, that we are dependent now? No, I'm not. I am not. I think we have the resources to be energy independent, but as I've stated many times on the stream, I tend to take Jamie Dimon's approach, so I don't have to do a whole big summary on my stance here. Now, I think everybody, it's quite obvious that we all want to have a greener environment, we all want to reduce our carbon footprint, but we shouldn't do that at the expense of killing the oil and gas industry. What we need to do is have a plan in place to do this transition sustainably, and we are nowhere near even in the realm of possibility of turning off the oil and gas switch. I mean, it's just disingenuous and dishonest to say that. So I think a lot of these ESG people are sort of shooting themselves in the foot, so to speak. And I think a lot of the hyperbolic, I would generalize a lot of that rhetoric around ESG is all hyperbolic to pander and win votes. But I think we need to be honest and be a realist, right? I think Democrats, Republicans, everybody, we want cleaner forms of energy. I think we would all agree on that. And I think we need to put an honest plan in place to build the infrastructure first before turning off and reducing our output for oil and gas. I actually think we should be doubling down, if not tripling down, on nuclear energy, which is the most efficient form and the cheapest and the cleanest. All right, we gotta head to Park Avenue before I forget. I'm almost gonna forget. promise I won't. So, quickly shifting gears back to the topic of the hybrid work environment. Subway ridership is down, MTA ridership is down, which is putting a huge financial pain on the industry. Buildings like the one you're about to see, which is 425 Park Avenue. But before that, I'll give you one shot of St. Patrick's Cathedral. Beautiful church cathedral right here on 5th Avenue, one of the most famous. I actually just took a standalone video of this. I'm going to post it up on the YouTube channel very, very soon. But buildings like 425 Park Avenue are crazy. Bloomberg did an exclusive behind-the-scenes interview with the developers and a tour, a full video tour. It's like 15 minutes. Highly recommend watching it. And Citadel Securities, which is a major quantitative hedge fund on Wall Street, major market maker, founded by Ken Griffin. He actually created it out of his college dorm room at Harvard. He just signed the lease, I think, a couple months ago for the 23rd through the 26th floor, I believe. And the thing is crazy. They actually gave a little bit of a tour of his new office, and it's wild. You guys got to see the building. Wow, Daryl says Tom, Chicago, Illinois has only 45% occupancy. That is very low. Lisa says 18 count eggs is $6 here in the panhandle of Florida. I'm assuming that's actually pretty expensive, right? Sparks Carnival says, I wish I could invest in ChargePoint, Plug Power, etc., but they're not profitable yet. Yeah, and I mean, that's another thing, right? Does anybody remember this solar and wind energy conversation, 5-10 years ago? It was a very, very expensive form of energy, but I got to show you guys the Cartier building. But with any new technology, it's always very expensive at first. And then just with technology in and of itself is rather deflationary in nature. Solar power and wind energy is actually coming down. It's actually becoming very, very cheap. The problem I see right now, and mainly any expert in the field, I am not an expert, but any expert would tell you that the main problem we have as it relates to solar and wind energy is we can produce the energy, but there's really no place to store it. We do not yet have the ability, 432 Park Avenue, beautiful building. We do not yet have the ability to harvest and store massive amounts of energy to be used later, right? Because it's not always going to be sunny. It's not always going to be windy. So what we need to do is generate this power, store it in a safe and profitable way. And the technology is just not there yet. It's going to get there. And we should all be investing and thinking that way, right? But we got to do it in a reasonable manner. But it seems as if in politics, what the politicians have found out is that if you're not posterizing hyperbolic nonsense, you're not going to get votes. And I think that is really polarized this country, where you're either on the right side or the left side. It's either black or it's white. It's not. There's tons of gray area in anything. And I got to cut to beautiful St. Thomas Church. Look at the amazing contrast between the very deep gray of the facade of the building and the rich, what would you call this? Like a redwood oak door? Let me try to get a little bit closer. Wow, those doors probably weigh hundreds of pounds. Look at that. That is so cool. It's almost like you're going back in time, like medieval times. Man, and this thing is heavy too. Usually they have the ropes all lined up here to keep people out, so we never come up here. But since tonight they actually have it open, I get to give you guys an up close and personal view. Look at all the detail here. Yeah, Lisa Harper. It's beautiful, isn't it? Hey, Sparks Carnival says, hey everybody, I got a dip. Take it easy. Thank you so much for joining us again tonight. And hopefully we will see you tomorrow. There's Microsoft right here. I think UBS just downgraded the stock. It's solid. It's beautiful. Hey, Roberto is here. Good to see you. Okay, 2 more blocks, then we got to make a right. The eyeglass lady, you're right. It says, Tom, Europe is loaded with churches like this and more. I would love to visit. Dr. Longus, good to see you. Thanks for joining. Tomas Fuentes, we understand. Peace and love, but no spamming the chat, please. Julia M says, hey, Tom, how's your night going? Good to see you, Julia. Things are going good. It's going better now that we are outside of the... I always forget the name of here, but guys, check this out. Look directly inside the University Club. There we go. Now, inside the University Club, it almost looks like the Morgan Library, does it not? It is really, really beautiful in there. I'll try to get you guys a little bit closer in so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. I want you to pay attention to the crown moldings on the ceiling. And if you've ever been to the Morgan Library, sort of compare and contrast it. What do you guys think? Is that not an awesome place in there? I mean, seriously, that is gorgeous. Wow. That is awesome. And this is on the corner of 5th Avenue and 54th Street. It is called the University Club. D, yes, it is a private club. I think it is very expensive, and I think it is invite only as well. But it's a very, very beautiful place. Awesome. Look at the paintings on the wall. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but beautiful paintings right here. Hey, Michael Welsh Jr. is joining us. Says, hey, Tom, good to see you, Michael Welsh. Thank you so much for being here. And maybe if one day I'm a member, I'll take you guys on a little tour. Who knows? Steve CR, what's up? Hey, Sabrina Fair, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. Here we have the Peninsula Hotel. I actually took you guys inside the Peninsula Hotel not too long ago. So I wanted to bring up another topic that I was reading about this weekend. So there was an article in Investors Business Daily that was talking about the new and used vehicle market. Okay, now listen to this. I wrote down an interesting statistic here. So out of all of the new leases and purchases that are being signed, right, for a new or used vehicle, over 15% of all vehicles financed are now coming, or consumers are agreeing to a $1,000 payment or more. Now, I don't own a car, right? So maybe I'm not the best person to talk about this too, but I feel like that's crazy. to have more and more people, about 15% of the population, that are getting into new vehicles or just financing a car has a monthly payment of about $1,000 or more. Now, does anybody here in the chat have a car payment of $1,000 or more? Not to say that you're making a bad financial decision or not. Some of you could afford it no problem. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, I remember distinctly, like, friends in high school and things like that saying that their car payment is like $250, $235. $1,000 to me is just wild. Now, again, I don't own a vehicle, so maybe I'm not the person to talk this with, but Dallas F says my M4 was $1,100 a month, but I sold it recently. Ryan Beck says it depends. If you've got a 1K note on a Ford Fusion, then that's definitely a problem. Now, I would assume some of the larger vehicles, like the big trucks, right? If you're using it for work, that probably obviously comes with a very, very hefty payment. Here we have the Trump Towers here. Lauren says that's how much a Tesla is a month. That's crazy. Well, Laura, didn't Tesla just lower the prices of their vehicles? Wendy England says, I am lucky. I can pay cash for cars. True. Now, I would assume the majority of that reason is maybe some of the candidates that are applying for these loans, maybe their credit is not as good, so they're getting banged with a very high interest rate, perhaps. But look at this place. Hey, Dusty Coles as well. Malcolm says, Tom, you guys pay a fortune to watch the Mets or the Jets. How much is a Mets ticket? I think you can go see the Yankees or the Mets for like $10 if you sit in the bleachers, the nosebleeds. All right, 57th Street, Billionaires Row. We got to go over this way, though. We got to cross Fifth Avenue. DJ Review in under 2 says, Tom, I have a friend who pays $1,500 a month for a 22 Ram TRX. Oh my God. That's like somebody's rent. Well, here's the thing. A Ram, a Dodge Ram, right? It's probably a work vehicle, so maybe he needs that type of vehicle to be able to get around. Who knows? Robert A says, no way, Tom, Mets $10. I could have sworn I saw something that if you go to Yankee Stadium and you sit in the bleacher seats, it's like $15. Who knows? I don't know. I've never been to a Yankee game in so long. Mike C says, after you pay off a car, keep saving the payments until you could buy the car in cash. Do that forever and you'll never pay interest on a car again. Very good advice. Ryan Beck says that's like a performance version of the Ram truck, similar to a Raptor for the Ford F-150. Lawrence says, Tom, I paid $350 for a 2021 Jeep Renegade. See, that's reasonable, right? Those are the type of prices I'm used to hearing. So when I read this article, right, and you guys could look it up for yourself, Investors Business Daily said about 15% of all new either leases or if you're just financing a car in general, it's coming with $1,000 plus payment. That's insanity. Now, I know interest rates have gone up, right? We talk about this almost ad nauseum every day. We're coming off the back of 4 consecutive 75 basis point rate hikes, an additional 50 basis point rate hike we just got. So if Fed funds goes to 5%, these payments are only going to be going higher. Now, you know which data I would really be interested in seeing, everybody? I would like to see the delinquency and the default rates on auto loans. If we could maybe have somebody pull that data, because that could be a little bit of a frothy mini bubble in and of itself. Okay, we've made it, finally. We are now looking down Madison Avenue. You could see one Vanderbilt in the distance. Michael Joseph says, I think defaults are coming. Mighty Moles is in Oregon, 2035, no more gas cars. So imagine car sales are going to be like in 2034. I guess it's a bull thesis for EVs, right? Well, I think that means no more sales, right? It doesn't mean you can't drive your existing car. Dallas F says, Tom, U.S. auto loan delinquent by 90 or more days is 3.89%, compared with 3.86% last quarter and 4% last year. So we're actually looking good then. We're actually looking good. Now, we're going to see a similar type of data coming out this week as it relates to credit cards. JP Morgan Chase is reporting on Friday, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citi, I believe, is also reporting. And we can sort of use the credit card delinquencies and defaults as a proxy of how well the average American consumer is able to keep up with their payments. So we'll probably do a whole dedicated live stream to that. Everybody, 432 Park Avenue. This is one of the most expensive apartment buildings, not only in New York City, but in the entire world. Check this out. 432 Park Ave. I'm about to show you 425 Park Avenue, but look at how tall this thing is. Unbelievable. But as we shift gears here, my friends, this is the building we're talking about. This is the money shot right here. 425 Park Avenue. I think the Bloomberg interview said that this is going to be the newest office building on Park Avenue in 70 years. Something to that effect. And not too far to the right, down Park Avenue, Jamie Dimon, our good friend who we're going to hear from on Friday, is going to get his brand new office tower as well. And, I know I keep saying and adding more, 425 Park Avenue is going to have I'm not sure how many stars. I don't even know how that rating system works, but it's going to have a very, very expensive restaurant in there, which I always pronounce the name wrong. I think it's called Jean George's, I think, something like that. Very good steakhouse that I don't know how to pronounce. It's going to be right here. So let's cross the street and check it out. So these are the type of real estate, I should say commercial real estate, that's going to do well. That will always do well. And you're going to have a crowding into A-class properties like this, and everything else is probably just going to sit vacant or have high vacancy rates because of the hybrid work. And Citadel Securities, our friend Ken Griffin, just signed a lease in this building. Now, he's been investing a ton of money in Miami, down in the Brickell district, which is they call it the Latin America Wall Street. But he is also going to have about 250 employees right here, and bumping that up to about 1,000 employees by 2024. Pretty cool looking building, isn't it? Oh, Hawaii says, I still choose 130 William. 130 William is such a beautiful building. And stay tuned, everybody, because we may be able to get you guys in there. Take a look around. But let's do a bit of a walking tour of the outside of the building. You can see brand new sidewalk and everything. A culinary experience. AM says, Tom, have you ever been to 33 Thompson Street? The building is super sinister. It has no windows. Oh, I think that's all the way downtown. I think that has a lot of the telecommunications hardware from Manhattan. Is that correct? Ryan Beck, I think you're correct. 3 Michelin stars. Now, there is a location actually in the Trump International Hotel and Tower, which is not too far away from here. 59th Street, Columbus Circle, the exact address is 1 Central Park West. So that is the Trump International Hotel and Tower, and that is a very, very nice steakhouse. Oh, you could even see the Citadel and Citadel Security signs on the front desk there. Now, I think this is the tallest, the Bloomberg video said this is the tallest ceiling of any office building in Manhattan. So I'll give you some perception of the ceiling. Take a look at the height, but definitely watch the Bloomberg video. And you could even see they already got Citadel Securities there. I think about 250 employees work here currently. They're going to bring that all the way up to 1,000 in 2024. But this is just a gorgeous office building. You sort of notice the design. These are the old style Park Avenue original office spaces. I actually work out of this building sometimes, right here on the 19th floor. This is 430 Park, where there is a WeWork office here. But notice the contrast. Like, look at how unique and look at how different it is. It's definitely going to revolutionize the Park Avenue skyline and provide incentives for Park Avenue and New York City to remain the financial capital of the world. I never think, my prediction is that there will never be a city, never be another state, never be another place around the world that will ever dethrone New York City as the financial capital of the world. Not going to happen. Doesn't matter how bad the politics are. It doesn't matter. It is just not going to happen. Let's do a walk through the entire thing. This looks like it's probably going to be some retail space. I'm not sure what's going to be in here. And I want to point out just one more thing. I really should have linked the Bloomberg video in the Nightbot. But the whole building was built on health, wellness, and sustainability. That was the creative nature, if you will, of this building. And I'll tell you why. Check this out. You may think, oh, well, Tom, this just looks like a regular garage. What's the big deal? Well, I'll tell you what the big deal is. This is actually a major vent that brings fresh air from the ground floor and pumps it directly into all the office suites. And you got to check out how it works. They give an introduction about how it actually works in the video. And it is really, really unique, really, really cool. And the views, let me tell you, the views from Ken Griffin's new office, or soon-to-be office here in New York, is breathtaking. You could see Central Park, you could see the Chrysler Building, you could see the Empire State Building, or excuse me, you could see One Vanderbilt. It is really, really nice. Hey, Felix is here. Says, hey, Tom, happy Sunday. Good to see you, Felix. Thanks so much for joining. So we're going to cross, and I'm going to show you what it looks like from the other side. Mighty Mole says, Tom, I had a T-bone steak for $5.97 a pound. That's very, very good. You know, when I'm back in Miami, I buy my steaks from Walmart, and they're actually very good steaks. I think Walmart has done a complete 180 over the years on the quality of the food. It's actually really good. Actually really good. Hey, yo, Manny Explores, what's up, dude? Manny Explores is our fellow friend here. Check out his channel if you'd like. Yeah, Manny Explores. I'll be back in Miami soon. I'm going to be there for a couple weeks. I'm excited to get back to warmth. Oh, this is going to be a good view for you guys. Check this out. Look at how unique it is. And it's so open. Notice the ceiling heights all the way up. Hey, Nicholas Duras says, hey, Tom, have you ever been to Elizabeth, New Jersey? It's a really nice city. I don't think I have. I don't think I've been to Elizabeth, New Jersey. Hey, Lemonade is here. What's up? Good to see you. Now, again, notice the contrast from all of the older style. I mean, I'm not saying it looks bad, but just look at the difference. It really, really sticks out here. Crazy. Hey, Michael, this is Hayton from Corpus Christi, Texas. How was your weekend? Thank you for joining all of our viewers from Corpus Christi. My weekend was fantastic. It's even better now that you have arrived as we cross 55th Street, Ferrari Way. This is the... How fitting is this? So you have Citadel Securities, all the major hedge funds, private equity firms. It's bonus season. Bonuses on Wall Street are actually going to be a lot lower this year for obvious reasons, which we talked about, which we'll cover again. But I wonder why they have a Ferrari showroom right here on Park Avenue. I think it's probably for a reason. So Ken Griffin, when he's sitting in his office, which is right here, he can take a look at the kind of Ferraris that he wants to get. Who knows? Now, a quick piece of Wall Street history here as we head down to Jamie Dimon's new office tower, which is right down here. Q4 earnings are starting off this week. Obviously, earnings season always kicks off with the major investment banks. Now, many bankers on Wall Street are going to see a significant decrease in their bonuses because we are coming off 2021, which was a record year on Wall Street for IPOs. Equity underwriting, deal flow was crazy. It's almost as if you turned on CNBC. Every single day you had a new issue coming public, and investment banks make a ton of money from the fees or fee income when they underwrite a lot of these deals, provide advisory services and the like. And now, since the Federal Reserve has started to raise interest rates, they started to aggressively tighten, the IPO market has fallen off a cliff and is down about 99%. Quite literally, 99%. So if you have less deals, that means less fee income for the banks, which translates to less profits, which translates to lower bonuses. Now, I wouldn't feel bad for the bankers, right? 2021 was a stellar year. Absolutely blow the doors off year for a lot of these banks. And now earnings are collapsing. Maybe that's a little bit too harsh of a word, but it's because deal flow is down, right? We're going through another economic cycle where companies are having a hard time raising money and going public because of tightening monetary policy. This is my favorite building, as you guys know. I think it even beats out 425 Park Avenue. Here's another interesting view from this side. But I still like the Seagram building. I think the Seagram building is much better. But check it out. It looks like almost looks like a rocket ship, doesn't it? It looks like a futuristic spaceship. But I think Seagram building still beats it. Still beats it. So after the introduction of the internet, algorithmic trading, electronic trading, Wall Street is really here, right? Park Avenue, Midtown Manhattan. And a lot of tourists and a lot of people, they think, a lot of the financial activity, many of the big investment banks and the hedge funds are down on Wall Street. It's not the case. They've really all moved uptown here to Park Avenue, near Times Square, because they really don't need to be down on Wall Street. Now, the stock exchange, the New York Stock Exchange, is pretty much just like a glorified TV studio. It's still a fantastic place and I love it, but very, very little trading activity and market making actually gets done there as it relates to what it was way back in the day. There's still trading, there's still market making, right? But nowhere near the amount of volume as it used to flow through there. Hey, Patrick, New York, what's up? Good to see you. Gregory is here. Says, I have learned great things about the Steinway building because of the stream. Yeah, the Steinway building is fantastic. I love it. Lemonade is here. FredX, good to see you. E. Smith says, I really like Citigroup Center. Very nice building. Hey, Mike Skate TV, what's up, dude? Good to see you. Thanks so much. Matt says, do investment and hedge funds still use the 2 and 20 structure to make money? Yeah, for hedge funds, that is I would say the standard. Well, let me cross the street here. Now, 2 and 20, for those of you who don't know what that means, generally speaking in the hedge fund business, when you raise money from investors, usually, right, not all the time, but usually, you're going the OPM route, which is other people's money. You're raising money from investors and you have a 2 and 20, which means every year, regardless of if you make money or not, you get a 2% management fee of all the AUM. And AUM is assets under management. If you turn a profit that year, you take 20% of all the profits, of all investor profits. That's 2 and 20. And I think that's why, generally speaking, most hedge funds fail, right? They go under in a relatively short amount of time. And I think what's really driven that, or I should say at least a little part of it, is the rise of passive investing and a lot of different products on Wall Street that have very, very low fees. Because if I'm not investing in a quantitative type hedge fund that beats the market every year and has ridiculous returns, like a Renaissance Technologies, like Citadel Securities, something like that, the hedge, I'm probably better off just dollar cost averaging into the S&P 500, right? I'm not saying that's in all cases, but in many. But there are hedge fund managers that beat the market and become very, very wealthy. There are. I know people who beat the market, but in generally speaking, over the long term, many of them don't. Many of them don't. And we talked about John Bogle, who really sort of exposed a lot of the egregious fees on Wall Street as it relates to the mutual fund industry. So way back in the day, here we have Mutual of America. Now, way back in the day, let's say if you were going to buy a mutual fund, this doesn't really happen anymore. But if you wanted to buy a mutual fund, they're going to bang you with 5% front-end load fee and a 5% back-end load fee if you sell, and about 200 basis points of fees, about 200 basis points of fees or 2%. Now that's ridiculous. So with the Vanguard Group and John Bogle or Jack Bogle, they said, look, a lot of these mutual funds fail to beat the market. So why don't we just create a low-cost index where the average American investor, retail investor, could just buy it and pay a fraction of a percent and own all of the companies in the S&P 500 and get the overall return of the market. And that has brought about a huge boom in indexing. And many investors realize they don't really need to buy all of these fancy mutual funds and hedge fund investments that are very expensive. But generally speaking, yes, most hedge funds have a 2 and 20 structure. The best hedge funds, like Renaissance, they have an even higher, more expensive structure. More expensive. Is this salt on the road here? Let me see. Yeah, it looks like road salt. That's weird. Is it supposed to snow in New York? Yeah, Brendan O'Brien. Druckenmiller is another one. Now, Druckenmiller has a very successful family office, but he's one of the most successful investors of all time. I think he has like a 34% compounded annualized growth rate, which is ridiculous returns, by the way, like ridiculous. Here's the cause statue. Yeah, Dan Zhang says, Tom, Steve Cohen used 4 and 50 when he was running SAC. Now, what are the fees of Renaissance Technologies? I know they're very, very high, but then again, they can sort of command it, right? Because they have ridiculous returns. Ridiculous. But I think if I was going to raise money for a hedge fund, one of the competitive ways that I think you could do it, obviously it's very hard, okay? The hedge fund managing other people's money is very difficult. But maybe you raise money and say, look, let's only do 20% and I won't even charge you the 2. Right? But then that means you're going to have to take on a lot of risk and you're not going to get a paycheck. Because the reason why they do the 2% management fee is to turn the lights on, right? To pay for the office space, do all that stuff. But nowadays, look, if you wanted to be entrepreneurial, and let's say you have, a systematic framework for investing, you think you have an edge, you think you can, build a deck or a pitch deck and raise money from investors and portray to them that this is our investing strategy, this is our systematic framework, and this is what we specialize in, and this is our benchmark, and this is how we plan to beat the market. I would try to raise money and don't even do a management fee, right? It's difficult because you're not going to get a paycheck, but just say, if you're confident in your abilities to beat the market, just say, okay, give me 30%. 30% of the profits, no management fee. You could try that. No, Matt. Okay, so Matt says, Tom, have you watched the Madoff documentary on Netflix? I haven't. But I've heard about it on Twitter. I think I may have to sign up for Netflix to watch it. Is it good? Would you recommend it for all of those who have watched the Madoff documentary? Would you recommend it's worth purchasing Netflix to watch it? Angry Gold Star says, Tom, may I ask, no politics chat, but stocks, bonds is mostly political. It's like we say money can be the root of all evil. Can we understand that most don't have decent funds? Most Americans live pay. I think you have to retype your question. Malcolm says, I made 98% this year by using Vanguard, no problem. Very nice. Dan Zhang says, Tom, it's worth the watch. It's produced very, very good. I'll check it out. I'm going to check it out. All right, here we go. JP Morgan Chase up on the earnings block on Friday. Here's another big building going up on Park Avenue. This is going to be JP Morgan Chase brand new office tower right here. I think I'm probably going to watch it. Very quiet on Park Avenue tonight, obviously because it's a Sunday. But if you guys like what you're hearing and you like the live stream, if you want to have a little bit more in-depth detail on what we do here, you could follow us on Twitter. We're very active there if you follow @WalksWallStreet. We also have a free investing newsletter that we are going to start back up next week. So if you type !news, NEWS in the chat, punch in your email. It is a free investing newsletter where I try to get as much of my market thoughts out as possible and also touch on a lot of the things that the viewers talk about and bring up on the stream too. This is the Hemsley building in front of us, 230 Park Avenue. I always love the clock here. Yeah, Matt says, I learned that he pioneered computer trading, front-running trades in the NASDAQ, amongst other things. Well, I think he was he the president of the NASDAQ or the chairman or something like that? Bernie Madoff? For those of you who watched the documentary, Bernie Madoff was something. I always get them confused. He was the chairman or the president of the NASDAQ. LL says, I think chairman. Oh, Dan Zhang says he was the chairman. Isn't that crazy? Paul Meddy says he was the chairman. Guys, think about how wild this is. That was a really loud echo. Think about how crazy that is. Think about how many people trusted this man. Like, that's what's so mind-blowing to me about the whole Bernie Madoff situation. Now, obviously, it was before my time, but I obviously know about it. But that's the thing that's so crazy to me. that it seems as if people are very well connected, they have this almost very strange manipulative ability to distort reality. Does anybody sort of see where I'm coming from? Maybe I'm explaining it the wrong way. But he was so connected and so open about his operation that it was almost as if it just flew right under the radar. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Hey, 2 Explores Videos, what's up? Michael Joseph says, Tom, watch it, you'll love it. I'm gonna have to buy Netflix. Whew, man, it's so warm. My fingers are getting frostbite. Yeah, Zada says he was a narcissist. Exactly. Nina says, yes, small circle of wealthiest circles. Walking Minnesota says, yeah, the SEC really dropped the ball on him. I'm 3 episodes in already. Matt says he ran his fraud for over 40 years. That's the thing that's crazy. Almost got caught 3 or 4 times before he succumbed to a bank run in 2008. Yeah. It's really crazy, man. It's wild. I think the biggest thing for me, we're about to head into Grand Central Terminal, by the way. I think the biggest thing for me, are the gates down? Or is that a reflection? Hold on. Looks like the gates are down. That's strange. Oh, but it's only on one side. They never have these gates down. Anyway, so the craziest thing to me about the Bernie Madoff situation is, I mean, by definition, you must have to be a sociopath to do that stuff, right? And I say the same thing about the Wolf of Wall Street, like Jordan Belfort, right? And I understand he served his time. I guess he's sorry about it. I get it. I don't want to hammer too much on him, but at the end of the day, you know that the means of yourself making money is in the end going to deceive and defraud other people. So I think that in of itself defines a sociopathic mentality in a way, right? Having disregard for other people just at the expense of your own success, which is really kind of frightening that people like that exist. Beautiful dog. There's 2 of them actually, another one coming up. Man, that guy is a big guy. Look at this guy. Jeez, it's a tank. Look at that thing, man. That thing is a tank. Holy crap. That thing is massive. I think that's a pit bull, right? I know, lemonade beast, right? That thing is crazy, man. Oh, Trap News says the dog is is an Amstaff? I know, LL says I felt bad for his sons. I did too. Because it's like at the end of the day, your family doesn't know what's going on. You defraud a bunch of people. I think his sons, unfortunately, or one of his sons, unfortunately, killed himself because of all the stress and all the lives ruined by the Ponzi style scheme he ran, which is, I'm gonna have to check it out. When did that documentary series release? Did it just release this weekend? Here we have the main information desk. Wow. Hawaii says, yeah, one committed suicide and the other died of cancer. That's horrible. Now, we were talking about how ridership is down in the MTA overall, and I believe it, even though it's Sunday night. You know, I remember walking around Grand Central Station on a Sunday night and this place being mobbed. And you know why? It's because a lot of people come back into the city on Sunday nights to get ready to go to work for the next day, but not a lot of people here anymore. Tomorrow is Monday. Monday is the day most people choose to work remote. So is Friday. For those of you who are just joining us, if you want to read that article, it's very good. If you type !MTA in the chat, it's a Wall Street Journal article. It's very, very good. The MTA is suffering from financial strains due to lower ridership. So they're probably going to have to either raise taxes in the state or they're going to have to raise the fares again. Hey, RainX12 is here. Says hello. Good to see you, RainX12. Now, the Wall Street Journal article doesn't only talk about the New York City transit. It talks about the transit in San Francisco, the transit in Chicago, and just the ridership trends of that. Daryl, that's true too. People might be in Florida for the winter. The snowbirds, that's actually a really good point, Daryl. I'll actually be in Florida pretty soon too. Be there next week. Ren says that's when the cookie crumbles. They're gonna have to do something. So in the article, the MTA is discussing potential, I wouldn't say suspending, but I would say limiting service on Mondays and Fridays, mainly because that is when the majority of people are working remotely, and increasing the service on the weekends. It's kind of interesting how all of that ridership trends have flipped. And I've been noticing it. Many people are coming into the city on the weekends to have a good time, to go out to eat, walk around the city and enjoy the city, but they're working from home and not going to the city when they usually go. It's crazy, the amount of change that COVID has caused. And humans are creatures of habit, and they become accustomed and almost trained to do certain things. So I don't see this trend reversing at all, to be honest. Michael Joseph, you're right, we do. We definitely do. Okay, that was down at the dining concourse in the Oyster Bar. UniJ22, thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate it. Hope you had a good time. Well, here's some people that are coming back into the city. Some of the trains are getting back now. But we are actually going to head out and head back to our own train station now. Moynihan Train Hall. Renee says, Tom, stop people from fare beating on the buses. They just get on without paying. That's a problem too. Fare evasion is a huge problem. You're correct. And I think that's its own other set of problems, is that the city has been more lackadaisical on the crime. So, that's a good point. That think about that double whammy, right? We didn't talk about that. So ridership is down. Let me just give you one more shot of the ceiling. I'll show you guys the mighty boulders for good luck. Ridership is down, and people are stealing the subway fares. I see it all the time at Penn Station. It's like, I'm trying to do the Apple Pay, and then I have 3-4 people to the left and to the right of me, jumping over the turnstile. It's like, what the heck am I doing? Will M says, yes, Tom, I want to hear more of your thoughts on the relaxation of law enforcement. Yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing. I'm actually optimistic about it. And that may be obvious because I tend to be an optimist. I honestly think Mayor Adams is going to fix it. I think he's going to figure it out. You know, he does have experience in law enforcement in the NYPD. But here's the thing. Hold on, let me just... Actually, I don't know if I need to zip my jacket. Hold on. No, I think we're good. So here's the thing. I think we just need to give him some time, right? He's trying new things. And look, I wouldn't say that Mayor Eric Adams would have been my first choice for mayor, but he's who we got, right? So we got to get behind him in his first couple of years of being mayor and support the guy, right? I think I'm a little bit... I try to be as rational as possible, right? He may not be my first choice, but look, it's who we have. We're all New Yorkers here who want to improve the city. So let's see what he has, right? But, you know, it's just been constant hit pieces by the New York Post saying his new policies aren't working, things in this, crime, which I get. But at least he's trying something new. At least he's mixing it up. So, look, I think in a couple years he's going to fix it. That's my prediction. Because if you want investment into the city, if you want new businesses to start here, you know, if you want people to come back to the office, they also need to feel safe too. And if you've noticed from all of Mayor Eric Adams' press conferences, that has been like his number one thing. He's like, look, New Yorkers need to go back to work. He's like, you got to go back to work, right, in order to have a functioning city. So if that's his goal, well, what is the main obstacle to reaching his goal? Well, one of the main obstacles is the crime. So if he wants to achieve his goal, I think he's going to work really hard to fix it. It's going to take time, but I think it'll be fixed. And I think that's... I think it starts with letting the NYPD do their job. You know, I think you got to be tough on the crime, even a little petty stuff. You got to be nitpicky about everything. All right, PwC, then CIBC World Markets. Carlos says, Tom, can you name top 3 things why you love living in New York? Sure. Number 1 is the networking opportunities here. Generally speaking, the smartest, most competitive people, not only in the United States, but all over the world, come here to start their careers. So if you're, I'd say young, maybe just coming out of college, I would say it's worth all of the other nonsense to be here, because the opportunities here are like insane, especially to build a network of people, specifically if you work in tech or finance. So the opportunities are still great. Number 2, there's always something to do. I mean, the place is freaking fantastic, right? Pretty much at all times of night, you can do whatever you want. Good food here. And lastly, I'm not sure, I think there was a couple. But lastly, I'd say it's a very fast-paced environment with competitive people. Very fast-paced. And in the summer, I like Central Park. Those would be my 3. Maybe that was like 6 mixed into 3, but I think you get the picture. Hey, Smee Media, what's up? Good to see you. This is Tom. Does Netflix have a free month trial so that you could watch the Madoff show? I think I'm just gonna buy it. I'm gonna try it. So here's an interesting thing, and it's interesting we talk about this because earnings season is coming up. So Netflix is now adding an advertised supported version. So it's going to be a little bit cheaper. Does anybody know how much it is, by the way? I think it's like $7.99 for Netflix with advertisements. The one without advertisements is a little bit more expensive. But I think I would pay that, $7.99. Yeah, Michael Joseph says they stopped the password sharing yet. I think that's one of the creative ways that they're doing to stop that, is put an ad-supported version. Here's one more shot of the Bank of America Tower. Oh, Gina Thomas is here. What's up? Good to see you, Gina Thomas. Sorry, the chat, we're on a new streaming software, so it's hard for me to see the chats. D8 says there is a TD Bank in New York. That's Toronto's bank. There's a lot of TDs here. Deborah S is here. Welcome. Thank you for joining. Dr. Longiz Rust is here. Keith. Somebody says hello from Russia. Welcome. Oh, Michael Joseph is at $6.99. Pretty good deal. That is a good deal. And I think Netflix is really panicking because now here's the interesting thing. Speaking about Bill Ackman. Bill Ackman made a big investment in Reed Hastings' company, Netflix. Big investment. A month after the big investment, they reported earnings. The stock dropped like 30% after hours. Bill Ackman sold his entire position because they had subscribers really decelerating. So I think in order to kickstart new subscriptions, they needed to make a more affordable version supported by ads. Because does anybody remember, and we talked about this many times on Walks on Wall Street, as it relates to tech, right? Now, it may not be a great example with Netflix, but I think it's good to just do a quick reminder because we're going into earnings season, and one of the most important things to look at when going into earnings season is forward guidance. Now, you guys know I'm in tech sales, right? Sell software, sell hardware, sell telecom. And what I saw during the pandemic in 2020 and 2021 is an overwhelming amount of demand. And I always use this analogy as it relates to public school districts buying computers. So I'm just going to give you a little example. Now, I played a pretty big part in some of these major school districts using government funds or COVID money to purchase, Chromebooks, laptops, kitted with, MS365, different cybersecurity software, all of that stuff. And you had, what I predict, about 5 years of technology spend pulled forward, condensed into 2 years. So you had this huge boost of earnings in all these companies, right? Stock market went to the moon. Also had to do with liquidity from the Fed. But now, if you look at a school district, if anybody's in public sector or SLED sales, chances are when you call your customer, they're going to be like, no, we're good. We have all of our infrastructure that we need. We're probably good for another 5 years because they had about 5 years worth of spending pulled forward into 2 years, right? So much so, to be honest, that I was working with some clients that got some of this COVID funding. They were literally trying to figure out ways to spend it. It was getting that crazy. Now, I'm not saying the majority of the spending was on all BS, right? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there was a portion of it that probably was. Because if you don't spend it, you lose it. And that affects how much you're going to get for years and years and years and things like that. So with Netflix, to try to maybe make that same point with Netflix, you had the whole world told to stay home, can't go outside, just sit on your couch. You had an absolute explosion in subscribers to Netflix because what did everybody do during the pandemic? They sat on the couch, watched Netflix, and ordered things from, Chipotle or whatever. And now that the world is opening back up, you're not going to see those crazy numbers. So the comparables or the comps, this is why if anybody's ever watched CNBC or read an analyst report on Wall Street, they always talk about the comps. The comps are going to be very tough to beat. And this time around in Q3 and even Q2's earnings, the comps were very, very difficult for many of these companies to beat because they're just going up against ridiculous spending habits. So I think that's one of the reasons why Netflix needed a way to invigorate and entice people to start spending money again on their streaming service. And I think that's why they created this advertised, supported $6.99 package. I don't know, that's just my view. Did anybody else, maybe in your industry, wherever you guys work, did you sort of see the same thing? Crazy amount of spending during the pandemic, and now orders are slowing down a bit, things like that? Hey, the Mighty Bull is joining us. What's up, Mighty Bull? Good to see you. Thanks for joining. Diane, interesting. Well, this is East 35th Street, everybody. Sabrina Fair says, nah, the employer clamped down immediately. Wendy England says tons of advertisements on YouTube as well. Well, how much is YouTube Premium? Does anybody... I think if you spend a monthly subscription for YouTube Premium, I don't think you have to watch the ads, maybe? Hey, Lauren says, hey, Tom, I work for a durable medical equipment company. We still have lots of sales. Well, that's good for you. That's good. How do you like medical device sales? That is also a very lucrative industry, medical device sales. Wow, Lizzie says it's $16.99. Crazy. Will M says, I use Brave browser, no ads for YouTube. So Brave, I think, is a project by Brendan Eich. And Brendan Eich is the creator of JavaScript. I think he invented it. And I also think, didn't he create some cryptocurrency that also goes in tandem with Brave called the Basic Attention Token or something like that? I think that's Brendan Eich's project. I used to have the Brave browser downloaded. Okay, now we are crossing 5th Avenue over to West 34th Street. This is the Starbucks Reserve store. Starbucks is actually performing well, trading near a 52-week high. The ticker symbol is SBUX. Steve CR says, Tom knows about Brave, I'm impressed. Yeah, I used to use Brave a lot, actually. Its insignia is, I think, the lion. It has a little lion on it. But yeah, I think Brendan Eich was the creator of that. Will M says, what do you use now? I just use Chrome. Just basic Chrome. Hey, Horatio Snipes, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, Dan Zhang says, Tom, is Starbucks Reserve the one with the alcohol in the drinks? It is. I think it's on the second floor of the Empire State Building. They actually have a bar. Borat says, I can't stand YouTube ads. I'm about to go premium. Well, do you guys want to know my biggest critique about YouTube advertising? And I think this ties well into, our topic of earnings season. I've noticed a lot. Now, maybe this is just because, I tend to spend a lot of time looking at financial websites and things like that. So the algorithm will serve me advertisements. But the advertisements I get are the most cringeworthy, corny, charlatan-style advertising I have ever seen in my life. Does anybody else get those, or is that just me? I mean, these things, it's almost just like it's somebody hawking like a course on how to, sell things on Amazon, all of this nonsense. And it's just relentless. It's like, hey, do you want to make $10,000 online selling this on Amazon? It's just like, my God, Those are like the only advertisements I get. Also, a lot of like penny stock trade, like all this corny stuff where people, you know, they'll have like a sports car in the advertisement and they say click here to join our free course. It's just all nonsense, man. But YouTube allows that because they pay big bucks. All right, we are coming up on the beautiful Herald Towers, which I think we have some viewers that live here. Wow, Elliott Wave Review says I earn about $500 a year using Brave. They pay all users in basic attention token. Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So if you guys have enjoyed the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and hit the subscribe button if you're new. We go live at 8:30 p.m. about 5 to 7 days a week. But we are now headed towards the Penn Station Moynihan train station. Macy's now has all their Christmas decorations down. Leonardo says, do you think crypto will pump this week? The market closed on Friday. Was promised. I mean, I don't know what the crypto markets are going to do today, tomorrow. I think a lot of the cryptocurrencies, like the altcoins, are fraudulent. You know, like basic attention token is an altcoin, right? But I think that one is, I mean, I don't own any of this stuff, but I mean, I think you guys know my opinion on that. The crypto markets in general. I do see value in Bitcoin, but a lot of the other stuff, almost 99% of the other altcoins, I think are just, you know, these Ponzi style pyramid scams, I think. Hey, Bree Grams, what's up? Good to see you. Hope you're well. Melissa 2087 is going to New York City at the end of January. Love that. It's to visit the new Museum of Broadway and the new Gordon Ramsay Fish and Chip Shop in Times Square. You know, Melissa 2087, I had no idea Gordon Ramsay had a place in Times Square. I may have to go there. Gordon Ramsay Fish and Chip Shop in Times Square. Interesting. Lizzie says, Tom, what is the streaming app you're using? We are using OBS Streamlabs. Dan Zhang says, Tom, I remember you talked about the Chinese hand-pulled noodles restaurant in Chinatown yesterday. You should visit Golden Corner Noodles in Flushing. It is hands down the best in New York City, but cash only. I may go there tomorrow. Let me take a screenshot of that. Hold on. Thank you for the tip on that. Let me take a screenshot. Nice. So I'm assuming I could just get off on the 7 train and it's in walking distance. Dan, I think I told you this, but my favorite Chinese dish, I think it's a Chinese dish, is the malatang soup. Like the very, very spicy. So hopefully it's similar to that. All right, so we're coming up to Penn Station, where I will cut you guys loose. We'll just do a quick recap. Big week on Wall Street, everybody. Inflation is going to be in sight on Thursday. We are going to be hearing the CPI report that is really going to dictate what the Federal Reserve is going to do on February 1st, which is the next FOMC meeting. We're probably going to get either a 50 or a 25 basis point rate hike, depending on how hot or how cool inflation comes in. Q4 earnings is going to start up with the major investment banks, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Citi, Wells Fargo, all reporting on Thursday. Delta Airlines reports, as well as many of the other airlines. We talked about Foxconn finally starting to get up to 100% capacity after the pandemic. And everybody, you know what? Let's see if this works. I want to take you guys into the underworld here and show you the new, I would say the older New Penn Station that they've redone. I gotta get the train anyway, I might as well take you guys down here. But thank you everybody for watching. Nicholas Persad, Steve CR, Robert, Dusty Cole. If you're new here, feel free to hit the like button on the way out. Subscribe if you're new. Wendy England, Richard Vogel, Susanna Q4, Sabrina Fair, Hawaii, Sunshine After Rain, Austin City Limits, Love is Kind, Gail Chan, Dan Zhang, Doctor, thank you so much, D8, Will M, thank you so much, Lizzie, I appreciate it. Now look at how old everything is here. Sabrina.